Good morning. Today's topic is very interesting. It's how to get someone to do something. How do you get them to do something that you want them to do? This is very important. So first of all, I'm going to burst your bubble a little bit and say you can't get anybody to do what you want them to do. In fact, you have to change the approach and get them or influence them to do something they want to do. And I'm going to explain that a little bit further. But just to clarify, you can't get someone to do something that they don't want to do. You have to get them to understand that they want to do it themselves. It's something in their best interest. That is the best way to get someone to do something. So let's talk about communication. Communication is so important, but so undervalued in relationships and business, in all aspects of life, even parenting. Communication is so important because communication has fundamentally, there's a number of purposes, but the main purpose of communication is to influence. The reason why we communicate with each other, why you communicate to a spouse, to a business person, to your clients, to your staff members, whoever it may be, is because you are trying to influence them in some way, shape, or form. You want them to do something. It could be, hey, look, this is a heads up. I want you to know this. It could be, hey, I want you to do this. I want you to consider this, but you want them to do something. So you are essentially trying to influence them in some way, shape, or form. That is what the purpose of communication is. Now, the best form of communication for you as a business leader, as a person, to try to get someone to do something is to improve your level of influence. So going back to that original point, trying to get someone to do something that's in your best interest never works. You have to show them that it's in their best interest to do whatever you are asking them to do. So that is a completely different mindset shift. Is you got to put yourself and look at things from their perspective. Why would they want to do what you are asking them to do? That is very important. Now, it's a concept of what we call a shared box. And this is something that I created based on the work that I was doing with teams, with employees, and even in my relationship. One of the things that sparked it for me was a challenge that I had in our relationship, my relationship with my wife. And my wife and I had a really good conversation about this. One of the biggest challenges between us was that she had her own box of how she wanted her life to be. And I had my own box in terms of how I wanted my life to be. And our boxes were two separate boxes. But when you get married, what you have to do is actually have to create a joint box between two people. That's how you influence someone as well. And this is how you do it. This is the mechanics. If you're interested in knowing more about how to do this, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. But this is a very powerful technique. What you need to understand is within each box, there are elements. So for example, you might be thinking, my life should be like this. I want this kind of house. I want this kind of career. I want to be making this much money. All of those are elements within the box. What you have to do is take those elements out of the box, because that box a lot of times is very restrictive. You want things to be exactly the way you want them to be, whereas the person on the other end receiving the communication, or the person you're trying to influence, has their own box. So you have to be able to take your elements out of the box, the things that you truly want, right? Those are the what, and not necessarily the hows, right? The how is the box. The box is the exact way you want to get what you want. And that doesn't always work. What you need to do is take those elements out and take out the elements that the other person wants. You have to identify what the other person wants. So if you're talking to an employee, you have to identify what they want. Do they want more money? Do they want more work-life balance? Do they just want to be appreciated more? Those are the things within their box, right? How they get that, they might have their own thinking in terms of that. So what you have to do is be able to take their elements in their box, combine it with your elements, and create a new box, a shared box between you two, which is the how. Once you identify what you both want and align them and put them into, let's just say, an area. I want you to think about this visually, right? You're literally taking these things. You can draw it out on a piece of paper. That's essentially what I do. Is I draw those elements out on a piece of paper, what I want, what the other person wants, and then I draw a box around it. And then I ask the other person, how do we get these things here? We're both in alignment in terms of what we want. How are we going to achieve this? And once you do that, once you show them that you're both in alignment with the elements within the box, they are more likely to not only do the things that you want them to do to get those elements, but they're more likely to be creative and proactive and actually finding solutions to get those things themselves. So that's essentially it. If I'm going to summarize, now I'm going to do another podcast on the Complete Man podcast specifically around this. It's going to be a little bit longer, so it's going to be in more detail. But what you are doing is you are removing the box around your elements. You are removing the box around their elements. You are bringing all the elements together, agreeing upon those elements, and then creating a new box in terms of how to get those elements together. Once you do that, you are both are going to be in better alignment and more proactive in attaining that. That's how you get someone to do something. So your mind shot for today is take a look at a difficult situation or maybe a situation that you want to achieve today with a person, with an individual. Identify what your elements are, the what, identify or get them to identify what their elements are, which is the what, the end objectives, and then combine them together, get in alignment, and together create a plan as to how you're actually going to achieve those elements. Watch how this works. It is absolutely amazing. I'd love to get your feedback in terms of your approach and how this has worked for you. So I hope this helps, and I wish you the very best. Take care.